Just one, I've got to get this in. Let's now, one more time, off the ivory tower. Your statement against government growth and too much spending, do I assume that you bring the same free to be irresponsible statements against military spending?
Well,
$140 billion?
You say $140 billion. 15 years ago, military spending was over twice as much as the spending of HEW. Today, the spending of HEW is over twice as much, is about twice as much as military spending. 15, 20 years ago, before Vietnam, military spending was 9% of the national income. Today, it's between 4 and 5%. I said earlier, the two basic functions of the government are to protect the nation against foreign enemies,
yes,
and to protect the citizen against his fellows. Military spending is essential for the first. Of course, if we could do it in a private enterprise way, it'd be a lot cheaper.
Would you like to try?
I have never been able to figure out a way to turn the military, the defense of the country over to private enterprise. I'd give a prize to anybody who can figure out how to do it.
Professor Friedman, there are critics who say that it already is, and that the reason old men declare wars is because they have a financial investment in the companies that make bombs and bullets and guns and uniforms and all it takes to get the...
I don't believe that for a moment. I don't doubt that the people who have those interests try to exert their influence in that way. But this is so serious and so important a matter that I really think it's a travesty on what's going on.
No one is saying it's a conscious effort,
No, no.
But the fact that the profit is there has got to influence behavior. It's got to. And decision making.
You mean that's the reason why our military spending has gone down so sharply?
Are you, $140 billion isn't enough for you? Do you know how much an aircraft carrier costs? I got this just today, this week, from Senator Proxmire. $5 billion for the boat and $5 billion for the planes on it. $10 billion for one boat. How do you feel about that?
I think it's a lot too much, and might very likely, if you could turn that over to private enterprise, it would cost half as much. But we have to have a strong military, and at the moment, let me get to this because I think it's very important. If this country is fundamentally threatened, in my opinion, it is threatened much more by our weak position in foreign affairs than it is threatened by any mistakes that we have made in economic management. We can recover from the mistakes in economic management. But if we put ourselves in a position in foreign policy of the kind we've been putting ourselves in, we cannot recover. We're through. It's a one-time loss.
That's directly opposite the statements of many, many honorable, reasonable people who are saying it's the cost of bacon and the fact that the middle class can't make it to the next paycheck and the fact that several thousand people in the automobile industry are out of work that's going to threaten the integrity and strength of this country, not a group of students somewhere in
It's not, well, you talk about a group of students. I'm not concerned about the group of students. I'm concerned about the Russian armies on both sides of that strait. I'm concerned about the fact that in our neglect we permitted the Russian to take over the base of Aden when the British left it in 1971, and they have built up a major military base with airplanes and so on, that they are now coming into Afghanistan. They've got both parts of the Persian Gulf in a pincers.
All right.
Oh my, how unrealistic can you be not to look at what's been happening to the relative strength and position of the Russians on the one hand and of ourselves on the other? And do you think they're spending that money and devoting their energy to that in order to have it sit idle?
All right.